Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Austin Cardoza, and tonight I'm going to be demonstrating how to cook a very classic, very traditional Italian dish of spaghetti and meatballs. Before we get cooking, we're just going to talk a little bit about the history and location. Obviously, Italy is located in southern Europe. Some interesting history facts. Across a span of more than 3,000 years, Italian history has been marked by episodes of temporary unification and long separation, of intercommunal strife and failed episodes. So it's really been a rocky road, but recently, Italy has not really been in many conflicts around the world. They're mostly a peaceful country. As far as religion and family structure goes, in Italy, the Roman Catholic Church was part of everyday life. And the social structure of rural villages in southern Italy was based on the family, whose interests and needs basically met all the individuals, and it was a very family and communal based structure. And some traditional health practices, even though today most Italians don't really follow this or believe in this anymore, but traditionally Italians used to think that any kind of health ailments were a result of their sins and punishments by God. So we're just going to get started cooking here. Got the traditional meatballs. Toss them all here. So you want to get those cooking. Welcome back, everybody. So as we got the meatballs going here, we're going to have the pot full of water start to boil for the pasta. And while that's cooking, we're just going to go over some more facts for you. So some traditional food habits of the Italians or the Italian culture. Some common ingredients and common foods. Pasta obviously is the main staple of Italian food. They make everything almost around that. Some other common ingredients include tomatoes, tomato sauce, parsley, oregano, basil, olive oil, and of course some cinnamon. And as far as the meal composition and the cycles go, for their meal cycles, so traditional Italian breakfasts tend to be light with maybe some coffee and some pastries, but then you get to the heavier meals once you get into lunch and dinner, which are both very similar. So for lunch, the main meal of the day, it's also, it usually starts with appetizers, some soup and salad, and then it'll move on to the main course, which is usually your meat product, which would be, some kind of steak or chicken or even fish. And like I said before, everything is also served with bread and salad, usually throughout all the meals. So some role of food in society. In Italian culture, food is really used to bring people together. It's a very family-based culture, so they really rally around food, and they always invite as many people over as they can to drink some wine, some alcoholic beverages, and just eat and have a good time. As far as therapeutic uses for food, Italians generally they eat a lot of comfort food. So it's not necessarily the healthiest food, but it is very good. It tastes good, and like I said, it brings people together. So let's just check on the meatballs here. Looking nice and golden brown. So the key with these is you want to make sure that they're not going to start to fall apart. So you don't want to flip them too much. Really, you want to flip them as least as possible until they get golden brown. That way you can make sure they don't start falling apart here. But they're looking pretty good so far. Nice and golden brown on the outside. I went ahead and stuck them in the oven, so they're going to cook all the way through. And now we're going to go on. We have our water boiling already in our pot, so now we're just going to go ahead and throw the pasta in. Start this here. Here. So what you're going to want to do is crack it in half here. A little hard to do, but you got to have the wrist strength to do it. It's not that fun, but you want to one of the main things when you're cooking, you want to have fun. You want to be able to laugh at yourself when you can't really do things, but that's okay. So now what we're going to do here, we're going to just grab a little spatula. Make sure you get everything in there. Some will be sticking out, but as it starts to boil more, it will sink in, as you can see it's already doing right now. So let me move on to a couple more facts while we let the meatballs are going to cook all the way through in the oven, and we have our pasta over here boiling. So some contemporary food habits in the U.S. by Italian culture. We have the adaptation of the food habits. So Italians in America typically eat much differently than Italians do who live in Italy. So Italian Americans have adapted the American way of eating large portions throughout the day. And as we talked earlier, in Italy, usually breakfast is much lighter. So when we start to talk about the nutritional status of Italian Americans, rates of overweight and obesity in Italian women are about 45%, but are over 66% in the Italian men in America. So some influence on the group in the U.S. diet. Obviously, Italian food is one of the most popular ethnic foods in America. So you see things like pasta, pizza, and everything like that. You see pizza places all over the place. It's Americans' favorite Italian food. But according to one study, authentic Italian food, which is actually imported from Italy, accounts for only about 1/3 of Italian food purchased in the United States. So again, we have really Americanized the Italian way and the Italian culture, and of course the Italian food that we eat. So even Italian pizza that we must have here, it's a lot different than when we eat it here than it is in Italy. Now, everybody, we have the finished product here. Everything here you see is now ready. All we're gonna do, we're gonna get ready to plate the meal, my favorite part. Okay, so now we're gonna transfer the pasta. It's very well shooken up and shaken up. So now you wanna just transfer it right back in here. Bada boom, bada bang. Right back in the oven where it belongs. Now, this, my pasta sauce, it's been simmering. It's nice and warm. I added some onion, some paprika, and a little bit of cinnamon just to get you through the night. So now we're gonna add the sauce, just like so. If you could go ahead and zoom in on the pasta there, cameraman. Now, what I want you to notice here, very important, because this is the Italian way, the sauce to pasta ratio is very minimal. So you want more pasta to less sauce. You want to let the pasta really bring out that flavor. So now we're going to go ahead and bring out a plate over here. Grab a utensil here. You're going to want to mix that in real nice, real nice. As you can see, it's going to start to mix. Okay, this is what you're looking for. This is really a cook's dream. This is what you work for. This is what you're thinking of when you're buying the ingredients. So finally, you're going to be able to plate the meal. Go ahead and grab another one here. Okay, so one of the more important parts, one of the most delicate parts, is plating the spaghetti. Now, bring this over here to our smorgasbord of meatballs. 1 meatball, 2 meatball, 3 meatball. You always want a 3-to-1 ratio of meatball to pasta. It's very important in the Italian culture. Like I said, again, you want to have the pasta be the main dish. And that really wraps it up. I want to thank everyone for coming out. It's been a pleasure cooking for you, but honestly, I'm hungry. I gotta start eating. Viva Italy. Really good. Really good. Let me try it. I'll tell you. I feel like I'm in Italy right now. It's very, very good.